Poor Dawson Leary. If you spent any time on the internet in the past 15 years, you probably know him as that crying guy from the meme, or the whiniest teen in TV history. But here's the thing. I think Dawson got a raw deal. Yes, he could be frustrating, self-absorbed, and overly earnest. But in a lot of ways, that's what made him real. And I have a soft spot for him. Probably more than I should admit in public. This is my unapologetic defense of Dawson Leary. Oh, and fair warning, there will be Dawson's Creek spoilers ahead. Let's be honest. Dawson Leary has not aged well in the court of internet opinion. He's become the poster boy for everything people mock about teen drama protagonists. In memes, he's fragile. In think pieces, he's insufferable. On Reddit, practically irredeemable. But those takes often flatten a character who, while flawed, was also nuanced. What gets lost in the discourse is just how rare a character like Dawson was when Dawson's Creek premiered. He was a teenage boy who wasn't afraid to be emotional, to talk about his feelings, and to idealize love. That kind of vulnerability in a male character was rare, and still remains rare today. Dawson was deeply earnest, in a world that often rewards irony and distance. He had big feelings and even bigger dreams. And yes, he often struggled to understand that the world doesn't operate like one of his Spielberg films. But that wasn't a character flaw. That was the character. And while we're here, I have to say, James Van Der Beek deserves way more credit than he gets. It's easy to poke fun at the crying meme, but the truth is, he played Dawson with raw, unpolished authenticity that made the character feel like a real teenager. Every awkward pause, every wide-eyed moral stance, it all felt lived in. And for a role that required him to be both frustrating and sympathetic, that's no small feat. I remember watching as a teen and thinking, wow, this feels uncomfortably close to some guys I know. One of the biggest misconceptions about Dawson is that the show presented him as the hero who was always right. But Dawson's Creek frequently challenged him. Dawson was often shown making mistakes, sometimes huge ones. He judged others harshly, projected his ideals onto people who didn't share them, and made love conditional when he felt hurt. But the show didn't reward him for that. It punished him. Repeatedly. He lost Joey, he lost Jen, he lost Joey again. And these losses weren't because he was too nice, but because he struggled to let people be messy and imperfect. He wanted life to fit the story he had in his head, and the show slowly forced him to let that fantasy go. I'll be honest, even I rolled my eyes at him sometimes. There are moments when you just want to reach into the TV and say, please, stop monologuing about Spielberg and go live your life. But that's also what made him feel human. The Crying Dawson meme has done a lot of damage. It turned one of the show's most vulnerable moments into a joke that overshadows the rest of his character. And honestly, that says more about us than it does about Dawson. We say we want emotionally available men, but when a teen boy sobs over his broken heart, we mock him. And when he talks about his dreams, we call him pretentious. Dawson was soft in a culture that tells boys to be hard. He was expressive in a world that rewards repression. Watching it now as an adult, I find myself respecting that the writers, and James Van Der Beek, leaned into it. I mean, was it always subtle? No. Sometimes it was pure melodrama. But that's teenagers. Their emotions aren't quiet. They're messy and big and exhausting. I think the show captures that perfectly. By the time we reach the final season, Dawson has changed. He's not clinging to the fantasy anymore. He's working in reality. He's pursuing his career, letting go of the idea that love has to look like a movie. and accepting that people grow apart. He doesn't end up with Joey. And that decision matters. Because for years, Dawson believed their story was destined. The show allows him to move on from that belief, to grow, to step out of his own narrative, and to recognize that Joey choosing Pacey doesn't mean he failed. It just means life moved on. Defending Dawson isn't about pretending he was perfect. He wasn't. He made bad calls, got jealous, and sometimes treated people unfairly. But he was also a realistic portrait of a teenage boy, figuring out who he was in real time, and doing it on national television for all of us to pick apart. If Dawson debuted today, I honestly think he'd be received differently. We're more open now to flawed, emotional male protagonists. But back then, he was swimming against the tide. So yeah, I'll say it. I like Dawson Leary. And I do hope the internet meme isn't the only thing he's remembered for. If you enjoyed this defense of Dawson Leary, check out my other deep dives into Noughties TV. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. Did Dawson ever win you over? Or were you Team Pacey from day one? I'll see you next time on The Hangout.